All right, welcome to lecture, I guess, for Module 2. My third lecture, but you watched in between lecture 2 on mission and then this one on vision. You watched that TED Talk by Cameron Harold about vision and his thoughts there. So I guess, depending on how you want to look at it, lecture 3 or lecture 4. I labeled it as lecture 4 in Canvas. But we're going to be talking about vision. And again, I want to say this. I said this at the end of the lecture about mission in regards to Cameron Harold's TED Talk. You know, I agree with a fair amount of what he was saying, and I think he gives some great ideas as we're, writing our vision statement, vision document. I mean, he talks about it being about 4 pages long. That's pretty involved, in my opinion. But I like the process that he uses to go about doing it. And I do think that we need people involved in thinking through it. And if we don't have that vision, that's where we are at a real loss. And hopefully you'll see that if you've not given a lot of thought to vision statements before, hopefully this lecture and what Cameron had to say will help you. But what I see the problem in a lot of organizations is they don't have a vision, even though a lot of them have a vision statement, but they're not doing anything about it. They have a vision statement because you're supposed to have a vision statement. And it's a little bit like the mission statement. You know, are you living your mission every day? Well, I don't know. We have a mission statement. Why? Because we're supposed to. That's just what good organizations do. And we have a vision statement. But it's not moving us forward. And vision statements, as we're going to talk about, should be reevaluated periodically. So those are some of the key ideas, and I think that's what has led guys like Cameron Harold to say, I'm not so sure about, vision statements because they're not doing a lot of good. Well, let's get into this. So the first slide there, I did kind of a comparison contrast between vision and mission because what I see is often some confusion. And I have what people calling vision, what is a vision statement in my mind, they're calling that their mission statement or vice versa. For instance, he even, one of the earlier slides that he had up there, and I can't remember the companies that he had their, one of them was San Diego Zoo, and I can't remember now who the other one was. But anyway, he had there, and he said vision statements, and what I saw in my mind, those seemed more like mission statements than vision statements. So anyway, that's what I just mean. A lot of people use those terms interchangeably, and they should be different, distinct things. That's what I'm driving at. So the vision, that first bullet there is the vision is what we are striving to be, versus the mission. As we already talked about, the mission is what we do. And remember, it's characterized by statements of we are, we do. Vision is what are we striving to be. It is forward thinking. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. The vision, the next bullet there, should be reevaluated fairly often. Every 2 to 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean we have to change it every 2 or 3 years, but we should be reevaluating it, looking at it, saying, does this vision statement still hold true? If not, we should change it. Whereas the mission statement should not change, or it should change very infrequently and only slightly. I've heard some organizations and people in organizations talking about, oh yeah, well we're gonna rewrite our mission statement again this year. And I'm like, what do you mean again this year? Well, we did last year. Every year we reevaluate and redo our mission statement. That should not be happening. You should not be rewriting your mission statement every year. Now, if you've never written one before, you've never had a mission statement for your organization, or maybe your department, your level within your organization, it may take you a year or two to get it really where you want it. So and I don't mean that's the whole time, but you may write it, you work on it, and you get it, and you've got it there for a year, but you kind of keep looking at it over the year, at the wall again, and going, it's just not quite right. And so then in a meeting, you guys tweak it a little bit more for year two. And you're like, that's better. But then you're like, it's still not quite there. And then maybe year three, you tweak it. And at that point, you probably should be leaving it alone. But my hope would be, even in that, you're wordsmithing. You're not changing the core of who you are and what you do. Because if you're doing that every year, then you'll never know who you are. You'll never know what it is you're supposed to be doing, and neither will your organizational members. So the mission statement should not change. Vision, on the other hand, should be changing not frequently, not even every year. And I don't know that you're even changing it, as I said, every 2 to 3 years, but you're at least looking at it. And the vision statement should be kept in the forefront, but not daily. Cameron Harrell mentioned he reads through once a week. You could do that. I don't know that's necessary. Whereas mission should be kept in front of members continually, right? It's hanging on the wall. They're looking at that every day. Vision doesn't need to be that way. But most of the time, what I see from a lot of organizations is they never consider their vision statement. They never look at their vision statement. They have one, but it's not a guiding principle for them, nor is it an inspiring principle. And if you were to ask a lot of the organizational members, what's the vision for the organization, they would probably say, I'm not sure we have one. And so we want to keep it in the forefront. It doesn't need to be daily, but it should be kept in the forefront. So if you go on to the next slide, then the vision statement. Just some things about the vision statement itself. It should be somewhat longer than the mission statement. He said 4 pages. I don't know that it needs to be that long. It could. I think that's going to be more dependent on how narrative oriented are you and your organization. Some are very bullet point oriented. Others like more of that kind of narrative storytelling. But it should be somewhat longer than the mission. The mission is a nice, concise statement. Here's who we are. Here's what we do. The vision is going to be longer than that. And it should have some level of detail. Because, as we're going to see here in a little bit too, the vision is going to help us with our strategy as we move into the future. And so we need a little more detail in there, a little bit more about where we want to go and things like that. Your vision statement should be open-ended or broad enough to allow flexibility. It is directional, and I think I say this. I think I put this in one of the near the end. I say that it provides overall direction, and it should give direction, but not be so constraining on how to get there. I use this illustration, I think, in the leadership class. I've used it a lot in different workshops and things like that, so I kind of forget where I use it. But in talking about leadership styles and the authoritative or vision leadership style combined with a democratic, and that's what we should be thinking of with the vision statement. So imagine if you all were my team, and I got you all together, and I said, "Hey, team, it's Tuesday. Actually, it's a Tuesday when I'm recording this. So it's Tuesday, and by next Friday, so a week from this Friday, so about 10 days away, we need to be in San Diego at a conference. And between now and then, I would like us to do something that's going to build our team unity and camaraderie, allow us to have some R&R, some rest and relaxation, and I would like us to learn something profitable in those 10 days. Now, we have unlimited budget. Let's dream here. And so But we have to be in San Diego by 5 o'clock next Friday to register for the conference. That's my vision. You all figure it out. That's an example of an open-ended, broad enough vision that allows flexibility, yet still sets the direction. Because what could happen is you all plan it and you get together and you say, we're going to road trip it over we're going to spend the next 10 days on the road together, and we figured in some team building activities, some rest and relaxation, as well as some informational, educational kind of things. Or you may say, what we've decided is the rest of this week is going to be everyone's R&R on their own. And then we're going to meet back here Sunday morning and then road trip it the rest of the way. Or we're going to do some stuff here, take breaks, and then fly. Yeah, however, that is the idea of what we want in a vision statement. It gives some direction, but it's broad enough to allow flexibility. And it should be there, that last bullet point. I already mentioned this, but your vision statement should be more of a long-term focus. Your vision statement is looking down the road. The mission statement is every day. This is who we are. This is what we do. Day to day to day to day. The vision statement is looking down the road, and that's why it's using terms like this is what we are striving to be, as opposed to the mission, this is what we do. So it should be more of a long-term focus. The next slide, just some more things about the vision statement. It should be aspirational in nature. There should be a challenge element in there, if you will. We are striving to be the best healthcare provider in the region. That's, we will be, or we strive to be, terms like that you see in vision statements. Those are aspirational statements. Are we the best healthcare provider in the region today? If that's our vision statement, then probably not. If we've been consistently ranked as the best healthcare provider in the region for 5 years straight, then we need a new vision statement. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But it's not aspirational. It is. That's who we are. So we probably need to change our vision statement. Your vision statement should be a little bit aspirational. We're striving to be this. We want to be this. So it should be aspirational in nature. It should be bound by the mission statement. I've already talked about this a fair amount, but like anything, if my vision statement is heading this direction and my mission statement's over here, I've got a problem. I mentioned, Bob Jones, the vision of adding these School of Applied Studies trades kind of programs, but that's not who we are. We're a liberal arts school. We should never have added those. So that's what we want to be. We want to make sure it is bound by the mission statement. The vision statement should also be guided by our values. And we're going to talk about values in the next module when we talk about culture and climate. So, which one comes first, chicken or the egg kind of deal. But it needs to be guided by our values, because if not, we start moving in dangerous territory, in my opinion. We need our values clearly delineated. And the vision statement is guided by that. And then I just want to point this out. Your vision statement should not be goals. Goals come from the vision. Goals are driven by the vision. Goals are derived from the vision. But your vision statement should not be goals. So saying something like, we strive to be the best healthcare provider in the region. That's, okay, you can argue with me and say, but that's a goal. Yeah, in the really broad standpoint, it's a goal. But goals are a well-written goal, and we're going to talk about this in Module 5. Well-written goals are that would not be a well-written goal. I'll just put it that way. It is a goal, but, I can say anything like that's a goal. But a goal is really going to be more something like, when you get into, we will get such and such a score on the patient satisfaction survey that we do, right? That's a goal. We strive to be the best healthcare provider in the region is an aspirational vision statement. And so that's what I mean with it. You wouldn't want something as objective and measurable in your vision statement. One, because usually it's not very inspiring, right? Being the best healthcare provider in the region, that's inspirational. If I'm a healthcare provider in your organization, I'm like, yeah, I want to go for that. But if I come out and say, hey guys, I'm the CEO, we've got a new vision statement and it's this. We strive, here it is, write this down. We strive for an 85% patient satisfaction rating on average. There's going to be the crickets chirping, right? The proverbial crickets. You guys are going to be like, wow, that's yay. That's not inspiring. And we want our vision statement to be inspiring. So that's what I mean. It should not be goals. The goals come from the vision. Next slide there, vision and strategy. The vision should be the driving force behind the strategy work. The vision statement should be the primary driving force behind the strategy work. Always led by and guided by the mission. We're not going to forget our mission over here. But the vision is what's guiding our strategy work too. Or driving our strategy work. We're guided by the mission. We're driven by the vision. Because this is who we are and what we do, and we can't deviate from that as we move forward. But the vision gives us that aspirational statement and then gives us directional focus on where we should be heading. The next bullet there, and I talked about this a little bit, but objectives, goals, tactics, etc. should all flow from vision statements. And that's what we're going to cover in Module 5. And if you're wondering, what's the difference between an objective and a goal and a tactic? Patience, we're going to get there. But that's kind of the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes, if you will, of strategy and strategic thinking and strategic work and strategic leadership. And so we'll get to that. But all of that should flow from the vision. It doesn't replace the vision. It flows from it. And I'll talk more about this in Module 5. What we never want to do, and I see it happen a lot, is, well, this is what we're doing, so now let's create our vision based on what we're doing. We have our tactics. Now let's create goals and objectives and vision. And that should never happen. We need the vision first, and then it all flows down from there. Again, we'll talk about that in Module 5. And then the last point, I already mentioned this a little bit, but vision statements need to provide overall direction and inspiration to us. Vision statements need to provide overall direction and inspiration. They point us where we need to go and where we want to go, and they're inspiring, right? If they don't do both of those things, then there's some weaknesses in them as a vision statement. So, and that leads us to that final thought, the final slide there. Make sure it's inspiring and forward focus. And I put two vision statements on there. Now, they're from Disney and Apple. Who am I to criticize Disney and Apple? They've got a lot more money than I do. I recognize that. And I also recognize it may be difficult for organizations like Disney and Apple to come up with a compelling vision statement because they are so successful. And that's where I think what we need to probably keep in mind is oftentimes it's a lot easier to write a vision statement when we're just starting out, or maybe we haven't been as successful, as opposed to when we're already at the top. Where do you go? I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to do weight loss, but the first little bit's hard, but then you see depending on how overweight you are, how many pounds you're losing, a lot of times you see a lot of success early on, But then, boy, when you get down close to that goal weight, that last pound or two are really, really hard to lose. Why? Even if you haven't done anything differently, because you're getting closer to it. And so, and that's where you look at surveys and things like that. If you've already done, the difference between a 60% and 80% is huge, but that's easier to make up. But if you're talking, we want to move from a 95 to a 98%, that 3% is really hard to move. And so I just say all that to recognize it is harder for Disney and Apple. But so if I'm Disney or Apple, the concerns that I have with these vision statements are they're inspiring, but they're not as forward focused as in my opinion. Look at Disney. To be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information. To be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information. They are the world's leading provider of entertainment and information. They're there. Now, again, that's still kind of inspiring. Yeah, well, I want to be a part of that, but they're there. So where do they go from here? So that would be my question. In Apple, this to me seems more of a mission statement. But again, who am I to question Apple? We believe that we are on the face of the earth to make great products, and that's not changing. That's inspirational. I mean, I could rally around that as an employee. But where are we going? How is it not changing? What's the next great product? What new areas are we trying to break into and things like that? So, again, I'm not obviously not criticizing Disney and Apple. But what I'm saying is, and it's harder for them when they're at the top of the game, but that's where a lot of times you get guys like Cameron Herold are saying, these vision statements aren't working. Because those are inspirational, but they're not necessarily forward focused. And if anything, you want both. But kind of my final word on vision statements, I would say this. If I'm going to a little bit, I would rather see it more forward focused than inspirational. Now, I want both. But if I've got to give up a little bit on one of them, I would rather give up on the inspirational part, because at least then people will know where we're heading, and we can work on the inspiration later. So I hope that this module has given you a good glimpse into both, again, organizations as a whole, where we started in Lecture 1, the mission statement, and then the vision statement, and why those are so important and how they relate to strategy, strategic thinking, and strategic leadership. We will see you in the next module.